So I did my research and I came across 3D animation. If I sit in a circle with them, they're gonna talk about their academic studies and all of that, and I'm just gonna be like, okay, confused about my career, because she's like, you're not gonna get a diploma. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode. Welcome to another video. I forgot I'm not doing a podcast. Welcome to another video of me. And today I really wanted to talk about myself because I realized I didn't get to exactly do that in any of my videos. And I think that my life and my story till now is worthy enough to be talked about, or to be told at least, because it's quite different from other teenagers. And regarding the fact that I dropped out of not even college, high school, but I dropped out of middle school, and I wanted to share how I don't regret that, and I'm at such a better place in my life. I'm not telling anybody to drop out, but if you do, it's not a bad thing, trust me. So yeah, let's just get into the video. So in most cases, you would see that kids want to drop out of school, but their families are pulling them back and like, we paid so much for your school and you need to complete your education. What are you going to do? What are you going to pursue? You're going to be a failure. You're going to go out on the streets. Like, you would usually hear all of that stuff from your own family if you ever talked about dropping out from school, from even middle school, high school, college, anywhere. Because before this, I saw a lot of videos of people telling their journey of why they dropped out of college or high school. And in every single one of them, it was always that they wanted to do this and their family or their friends were pulling them back. But for my case, surprisingly, it's actually very different. For me, I wanted to stay in school and my dad was like, you gotta get out. Now, a lot of people might be like, oh my god, she has such a bad dad. Like, oh, he just doesn't want his daughter to have education. No, trust me, nothing like that. What basically happened was, I want to first talk about, I want to briefly mention my brother's journey, and that was that my brother hated school. He hated studying science and history when he wanted to pursue computers. And so, he would just tell my parents, he was a bad student. He would tell my parents, if I want to pursue IT, why am I learning about history and science and algebra? Okay, algebra is important, but he would be like, why am I studying all of these things and I'm memorizing these dates and the periodic table when I'm gonna be an IT guy in the future? And my dad at one point was just so fed up with my brother Musa, and he was just like, do whatever you want, just be successful. So he would be like, do whatever you want, be successful. And so my mom was just watching everything and be like, what the hell are you doing with your child? Because my brother was like, I want to drop out of school. And my dad's like, okay, fine, you can drop out, but what are you going to do? My brother did his whole research on what he wanted to do, what he wanted to pursue, the courses, online courses. So eventually my brother drops out of school and he's pursuing whatever his passion is, which he's currently a DevOps engineer. And my brother was in 8th grade when he dropped out. And my mom was just like, you're ruining the kid's life. He's going to go out on the streets. He's not going to make anything of himself. Fast forward to 3 years and he has a very stable job. And my dad wanted the same path for me. Well, at the time that I was in 7th, we have a 2-year age gap. So he was still in his journey of he was still studying at the time, dropping out and doing those online courses. He was doing all of that and I was still in school. And so my dad saw a future for my brother. He was like, okay, Musa dropped out of school. He's pursuing his skill. And so my dad wanted the same thing for me, and all I wanted at the time was my friends and my social life and all of that. That's how it started. My dad also said that I was taking too much stress over my studies. I was just a 7th grader, but I think it was really affecting my health because my height was not growing at all. I was really skinny. And so my dad thought that part of that would be my education, my studies. I was taking too much stress over 7th grade studies, bro. So my dad told me that I was gonna drop out of school for a year, and I was like, okay. I was fine with it because I was like, I'm gonna go back to school after a year. Fast forward to a year, I did not get to go back. It was a trap. Well, I wouldn't say there was a trap. It was just that my dad wanted the same future for me as my brother, because my dad saw that he was gonna make something of himself. So my dad sat me down one day and he was like, Fatma, I'm gonna give you a week. Okay, mind you, I was 13 at the time. He was like, I'm gonna give you, no, actually, I think I was 12. Yeah, I was 12. He's like, I'm gonna give you a week or two. You're gonna do your research and you're gonna find out what you wanted to pursue. What career do you want for the rest of your life? Which is actually a really big thing to say to a 12-year-old, but we'll pass that. So, I was like, okay. I did know one thing for sure, that I wanted to do something in arts. I was not going to be an IT girl or an engineer, a medical student. I did not want any of those things. From the very beginning, as a kid, I knew that I love creative stuff. Arts, not just as in paintings. I like arts as in creating stuff. So I did my research and I came across 3D animation. And, I did all my research, and then I went to my dad a week or two later, and I was like, I want to do this. This is what I want to pursue. My dad saw, he did his own research, and he, there was a scope, it was a good field. And then my dad was like, okay, you're going to pursue this. You're going to drop out of school, you have already dropped out. But you're going to pursue this, and you're going to make something of yourself. I want you to be financially independent at a young age. Not because we have any financial problems, but it was just that my dad wanted us to be successful at a young age, and that he, at an early time, figured that education and the school institute, the whole thing, is a scam. And at the time, I wasn't very supportive of this. I mean, I was doing it out of being forced. All I wanted at the time was my friends and all of that, and because I used to see them hang out every day at school. So I was a 12-year-old, dude. I wanted friends. I wanted to be the popular girl in school. But yeah, I dropped out. I'm learning Blender, which is a worldwide software, which is it's free, and anyone can really just learn it. I was learning Blender for a year, and I was doing things on my own. YouTube tutorials and all of that, nothing paid, no proper institute or proper courses, just me doing it on my own. And there was a point where I was like, what the hell am I doing? And even my dad was like, what the hell are we doing? Because in Pakistan there is no scope of 3D animation for now. And so there was no institute for me to learn, and all the courses were just way too expensive. So what I ended up doing was I was just doing everything on my own for a year, which built interest in me for this field. And then I started doing some paid courses, which concluded a few projects, one project at a time. It wasn't a full course for me to become a proper 3D animator. It was just the basics of modeling and texturing. And then there was a time where I had totally given up. I was like, I'm going to let Baba do whatever he wants. He's ruining my future, and I'm going to let him do it. I'm so sick of just, worrying about everything now. And then, so my dad then found me a mentor. And I don't think it's sort of wrong to say names without permission, but I had a mentor then, and he gave me this, he's a proper 3D animator in Pakistan, and he taught me everything that I know as a 3D animator. So he has this whole course of 3D animation, modeling, rigging, and I completed this course. I just very recently, 4 months ago, completed this course, and it took me, I think, 2.5 years. Wait, no. 1.5 or 2, I think it was 2.5 years. So 2.5 years, and I'm done with my studies. Right now, that's fast forwarded to now. I'm done with my studies, and now I'm just doing projects and stuff. Ever since I left school, to fast forwarding to 2 years, I have now no friends except for one. So I had no friends. I didn't know what I was doing. I was jealous of looking at people's Insta stories and, them being in school and just having that normal teenage life. And I thought at a point that I was uneducated. I don't know, because I think that whenever I sat down with my friends or something, like the friends that I did have, at some point when they were talking about like O levels and stuff, I felt very uneducated. Like, I know what stuff is, but I was just like, I'm not, like, if I sit in a circle with them, they're gonna talk about their academic studies and all of that, and I'm just gonna be like, okay, And I wasn't a dumb kid, but I was still like, I felt uneducated compared to them. Till now, I've just been talking about like my own like 3D animation and everything. But there was a part of it where I actually want to just complete the story and then I'll get to that. Now I'm at a point where I'm confident. I'm actually confident in my 3D animation skills. I am not doing a job, but I'm very close to doing it, maybe. I really don't know. But what's it called? I thought that I was uneducated, and that feeling didn't magically disappear. It's still there, but I know how to fix it now, and I will do so, inshallah, in 2026, which is that I will give this GED exam. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically for those people who due to any reason could not complete O levels or A levels, and so it's basically a high school diploma. If you pass your GED exam, you're a high school equivalent person. Like, you have this high school diploma. You can even get into colleges after with that diploma. So that will take away that feeling of feeling uneducated, and it will just in general open a lot of job opportunities for me. So that's done. I explained all of that very briefly. But the part that I really want to get into is the mocks and insults that I got because of the path that I chose for myself. Well, actually, my dad chose this path, and I'm ever so grateful that he did. But along the way, my brother was the one that used to get these mocks at first, like, oh, you dropped out of school, or what are you gonna do, this isn't even like the right path, or he just used to get all of that. And so when I dropped out, by the time that I dropped out, I think a year after I dropped out, my brother was like, people and relatives could tell that he's successful, and so like he got his diplomas and everything. And so they didn't question me dropping out of school. They're like, oh, her brother is successful, she's probably going to be successful too. They did not raise hands on me dropping out of school. But what they did raise what they did raise fingers, I don't know what they raised stuff on, but what they did sort of talk about or mock me on was the career that I chose, which was 3D animation. And if you're from Pakistan, it's not a very common career to choose. In general, I feel like any arts kid has faced this as much as I did. And it's not only that it was to relatives. Even my own friends would say certain things that they thought were like cool or whatever, didn't really matter, but it really stung so much. I would first get would be from relatives, like, oh, what do you have to study? Like, for example, even if I'm like, it still happens, like if I'm leaving my relative's house, they'd be like, oh, you should stay over, like, what do you have to do? I'm like, I have to study tomorrow. And they're like, oh, what do you have to study? Like, don't your kids have to study? You're like, yeah, they go to school. You don't go to school. That's fine. They know what I'm doing. They know I'm studying. And they're like, oh, what do you have to study? Honey! I don't even want to answer that. But these things aren't something that really stuck onto me. I mean, I'd share this with my dad, and he'd just be like, ignore them. So these aren't things that really pissed me off. I just knew I had to deal with this. Relatives being relatives, that's gonna happen. But what did really, really piss me off was my friends and people my age who would say certain stuff like, oh, your work is so easy. I mean, I'm here giving CIEs and all you have to do is just like do those little 3D animations. Your work is so easy. Your life is so easy. I don't want them to appreciate me and be like, OMG, you're working so hard. I could never do that. But I don't want, like, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all, because like someone putting in so much work and so much energy and so many hours of their day into a certain thing and then not getting appreciated on it is like, fine, you don't need to, but getting mocked on it is just like, it pisses me off. At first, I'd be like, yeah, it's just like whatever, I didn't really care. But recently I've noticed that I get so pissed up about it and I never say anything to anybody. I just laugh at it. And so recently I was just like, I'm not going to do that anymore. If somebody has to say something mean about me putting in so much energy and so much time and struggling with my career, I'm gonna call them out on that, okay? I realized that I was a people pleaser for so long. Like, as a kid, I always used to judge people pleasers, and it wasn't only until a few months that I realized I'm one myself. And so I'm trying to get out of that, and I don't really care if this... Well, like, I don't want to offend anyone, but if someone does realize, oh yeah, I said that to her, yeah, you did offend me, and I'm gonna call you out on that. I'm not gonna be like, it's fine, no, I wasn't talking about you. Yeah, I was talking about you. You did offend me, and I will talk about it. And there was a point where I was so, like, insecure because everyone was like, your work is so easy. Not to mention, these people don't even know what Autodesk Maya is. They've never opened it. And so these people would come up to me and be like, oh, your work is so easy. Like, I'm here preparing for CIEs and that's my competition. To a point where I actually had to ask ChatGPT what my difficulty level is to other careers, because I was obviously struggling with my studies. And when people used to be like, oh, your work is so easy, as if they've ever done it, they'd be like, your work is so easy. And that led me to think, am I just dumb? Am I dumb for struggling with something that is, as they say, so easy? And so I had to go to ChatGPT and ask the difficulty level of my career compared to other careers, and this is what it told me. Okay, so I actually have this written down in my journal because I was yapping about how pissed I am about this stuff. So what it said was, character animation's difficulty level is 85%, while medicine is 95%, engineering is 80%, software development is 70%, business is 40 to 60%. So on average, my work is pretty freaking hard. So now imagine going to a medical student and be like, oh my god, your studies are so easy, girl. Everyone would be like, do you know how hard medical is? And so now imagine that my work is only 10% less difficult than medical. And that only is for adults, and I'm a freaking 15-year-old doing this. And I don't expect everybody to understand my work and the workflow that I'm in, but I do expect people to not mock me on those things. Just because they're out giving CIEs doesn't mean that I'm here chilling and relaxing and not doing anything in my life. So, really had to get that out of my system. I know I got a little steamed up for that, but I realized that I get so pissed on this and I don't need to keep it in, because I have been keeping it in for so long, which only led me to doubt myself. I'm not saying I'm not a humble person, but I don't want to be a people pleaser, and I will call people out on that if they say something about something that I put so much time and energy and hours into. I will call you out on that. So that was basically it. I am looking to have a job in when I'm 16 or something, and some people might be like, oh my god, you're 16, you want to do a job? Yes, I do. That was the whole purpose of me dropping out of school, because I want to be financially independent early on. Moral of the story, I do not regret dropping out of middle school, and I know it's not for everybody, but if you are considering dropping out, it depends on what career you're going into. So for my brother, it was that he went into DevOps engineering. He is a DevOps engineer, like AI and all of that. I don't really know. But for me, it was 3D animation. So for both of us, it was like, for me especially, if I wanted to be a 3D animator, going to school would not help me at all, because there's no universities in Pakistan who actually teach 3D animation. And even if I was abroad, I would still maybe do the same thing, because as a 3D animator, they don't look for how, like, which university you went to or whatever. They look for skills. So yeah, in IT, it's basically all about skills. But obviously, if you're going to pursue medical, you can't just be like, yeah, I'll drop out of school and I'll do some online courses on medical and just become a doctor. So it depends on your career. So, you know, every time I tell somebody, yeah, I dropped out of school, because they're like, oh, what class are you? And I'm like, I dropped out of school. And they're like, oh my God, your parents let you do that? Honey, my parents forced me to do that. Well, my dad, specifically my mom, was just like so done with our entire family when me and my brother both dropped out of school. My mom still sort of, she's obviously, my brother's like well settled now, but my mom's still really, you know, like sort of confused about my career, because she's like, you're not going to get a diploma or anything, but I know the path that I'm on, and I will continue to be on this path. And if somebody has to say anything negative about it, go on. And if it pisses me off, I will call you out on that. So that's basically my journey with dropping out of school. And yeah, I did lose a lot of friends. I did. But, you know, you lose only the ones that weren't even meant to stay. So the ones that I do have, I am very grateful for. And I love them. So that's basically it for today's video. I hope you don't drop out of school because of me now. I mean, depends on your career. I would actually support you dropping out of school if your career is like IT or something. If not, stay in school, bro. Stay in school. But I would say school is a scam. I'm gonna say it. School is a scam. Anyways, that's basically it, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.
Oh yeah.